Super. Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you so much. Welcome to our 2025 Urban Streams Stewardship Symposium. My name is Luke Westfall, and I work as the Urban Streamside Program Coordinator for the City of Salem Public Works. We're excited tonight to share about a variety of ways to get involved for healthy streams, both for streamside landowners and community members in the Salem area. I want to express my thanks to everyone here for joining us, including landowners, community members, staff from the City of Salem, local partner organizations. Our appreciation also goes out to the Salem Library for hosting this event in the Locks Auditorium, and to Capital Community Media for recording this event to share with others. We've got a great agenda tonight, starting off with sharing about streamside resources available through the City of Salem, and a brief presentation of the Stream Crew's internship program's 2024 accomplishments. And following this, we will have some of our local partners presenting about their organizations and resources that they offer. And we'll introduce you to those partners behind us now, starting with, do we have Chelsea with Marion Soil and Water? Hi, Chelsea.
Hello. Sorry.
No, that's great. And for Polk Soil and Water Conservation District, we have Mark Bell.
Hello, everybody. I'm sick as hell, but I'm still here.
Thank you, Mark. And is Morgan here? No, Morgan? Okay. Mark is solo for Polk Soil and Water Conservation District. And then for the Glen Gibson Watershed Council, we have Ken Beerley. Thank you, Ken. And for the Claggett Creek Watershed Council, we have Jeff Anderson and Bob Bush. So city partners as well, we have Jeff Johnson, Natural Resource Planner. Thank you, Jeff. And potentially later tonight, might have Robin Dalkey, our floodplain manager. We will TBD. So just a big thank you to all of our presenters for joining us tonight. Maybe we'll give a round of thanks for you, for all of you. And then if you guys want to make it to your seats, we'll get to your presentations as quick as I can. Thank you so much, all. Following our partner presentations, we will be, with the time left for the evening, we'll be congregating in the hallway. We have outreach booths for the City of Salem and all of our partners, and we'll be available to interact with audience members and answer any questions that you may have. So kicking things off, I think it's fair to say that Salem is a pretty special place if you enjoy waterways and aquatic wildlife. Not only do we have Willamette River frontage, but we also have more than 90 miles of streams and tributaries within Salem's city limits, making up roughly a dozen watersheds that drain across all corners of town. These streams support a variety of cold water-loving aquatic wildlife, including fall and spring Chinook salmon, winter steelhead trout, a resident cutthroat trout, as seen here, as well as lamprey fish species, crawdads, dragonflies, and so much more aquatic critters. Every creek is unique in its combinations of habitat and wildlife, land uses, and landowners, and there's always something new to see when visiting a stream with a landowner for the first time. For our streamside landowners, one of the primary outreach tools we use to promote healthy creek stewardship is an annual mailer sent out to our streamside landowners. Whether you have lived along a stream in Salem for decades or just recently purchased a streamside property, these annual mailers provide helpful information about living alongside and caring for your creek. This includes things like contacts for stream-related questions or for requesting a free site visit of your streamside property. We also share updates and reminders about relevant local, state, or federal codes and regulations, such as the local Salem Revised Code Chapter 808, which provides local protections for streamside trees and native vegetation, typically within 50 feet of the stream. We have some printed copies of the mailer in the back if you're interested in taking one of those. It was just sent in early February. In the future, if you'd like to receive these annual Streamside Landowner mailers in your email inbox, come talk to us at the end of tonight. Part of the sign-up sheet for signing in for tonight had an option for checking a box for getting an email for our annual mailer. Much of our Streamside outreach is focused on providing education, technical information, and incentives for landowners to improve native vegetation along their streamside. And natural, undisturbed settings, streamsides in the local area typically would have had abundant, diverse native vegetation, including combinations of various native trees, shrubs, and ground covers. And these plants provide essential benefits not only for water quality and wildlife, but for streamside landowners as well. They provide shade over the stream to cool the water during the hot summer months, which helps support our cold water-loving local aquatic wildlife. These plants also provide the kind of leaf litter and debris which are essential for the aquatic food chain and habitat. And certain native plant species can also provide erosion control benefits for the landowner's stream bank by growing deep, expansive, and diverse root systems which can help bind soils together and help keep stream banks in place during the rainy season. Unfortunately, many species of common urban lawn grasses, invasive weeds, and ornamental plants may not grow the same kind of root systems that can provide for effective stream bank stability. They can even cause erosion to accelerate, hide what erosion is occurring under dense overgrowth, and even outcompete desired native plants that could be providing more benefits. So we know that streamside native vegetation is important for the health of the stream and for the streamside landowner. How can we better understand how local streamside vegetation is doing at a landscape scale in the city? Well, one of the things we can look at is canopy shade along our streams. Since 2009, the city has completed a stream shade inventory about every 10 years, and the most recent inventory looked at stream shade data from 2018. And this inventory, as shown here, identified that more than half of our stream reaches and buffers are well shaded with a 75% shade canopy or greater. And so for those streams with room for improvement for shade and canopy, we can use this assessment to help identify opportunity areas, to do outreach with landowners about planting native vegetation and controlling invasive weeds along their streams, and to improve shade and all the other benefits that native plants provide along the stream side. Sorry. In the coming year, we are working on rolling out a streamside buffer program to provide streamside landowners with additional tools and resources to help landowners assess and improve the health of their streamside. This will be things like expanded outreach and education materials, landowner workshops, and training events. So if any landowners have interest in providing feedback on resources needed for streamside landowners, or potentially being involved in a landowner pilot phase, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you're a streamside landowner looking to improve native vegetation and shade along your stream, the city offers free native plants every year for properties within 50 feet of a stream within Salem city limits. We typically have more than 100 landowners participate each year, and we provide an annual total of about 400 to 500 native trees and shrubs for landowners to plant within 50 feet of their streams. To participate, landowners should keep an eye out in late summer for a postcard from the city with an online link for requesting native plants, which are available for pickup later in the fall. Or if you would like to receive these notices via email, come talk to us tonight to get subscribed to our email list or update your sign-in sheet and check that box on the right for the free tree program. We also provide participants with email follow-ups with some helpful tips and resources for caring for the native plants. And as always, we offer free streamside visits for any questions you may have about your creek or native plant restoration. So some landowners and organizations have streamside needs that are beyond what our free native plant program can help tackle alone. This is where our Watershed Protection and Preservation Grant Program can be a really helpful resource. This is a competitive grant program budgeted up to $50,000 per fiscal year to provide funding assistance for landowner projects that provide on-the-ground benefits for stream health, habitat, or water quality, as well as for related outreach and education projects. This program has a small 10% match requirement, which includes in-kind sources such as labor from the landowner or volunteers. Grant applications are available at our cleanstreamsalem.org website and may be submitted at any time. They're reviewed by a grant committee, and if approved, are awarded funding as available within the fiscal year. Our next fiscal year of grant funding will renew in July, but don't hesitate to get started planning or to reach out to me to learn more, to request a site visit, or to get started on writing an application. As an example of a smaller scale project, a landowner may have a stream bank that's pretty much ready for native plantings, like some of the photos here. Maybe it's mostly weed-free, bare dirt, or grassed lawn. They could apply for a few $100s to help with costs of purchasing native plants that they could put in the ground themselves, or maybe recruit some volunteers to help them. Or maybe you include an additional budget item for a contractor to help install the plants because the stream bank is steep or it's difficult to plant on your own. Here's a before and after photo of a stream planting project with a bare bank to begin. Other times, a streamside isn't necessarily ready to plant. Maybe there's overgrown weeds or steeper slopes with some concern for moderate erosion, something that you might want to address when planting. A landowner could submit a grant application for some thousands of dollars to help with the costs of supplies or contracted services for controlling weeds, planting native vegetation, and even installing some biodegradable erosion control materials. And on the larger end, these grants have also been used to fund more complex projects such as advanced erosion control and stream bank stability, as you can see pictured here, where a more severely undercut and incised stream bank was transformed into a stream and habitat friendly vegetated wall with a regraded slope and bioengineered soil bags planted throughout with native species of trees and shrubs, which will grow root systems for long-term bank stability. Erosion control projects with more severe erosion may involve earth moving and removal fill. These and other activities can have permit requirements from local, state, and federal agencies, as well as professional engineering and design needs. We strongly encourage landowners to contact agencies early and to find a contractor who is experienced in small-scale urban stream erosion control projects to help guide the process. Oh, and here's that same erosion control project after about 4 years of growth. So you can go back here to that incised bank on the left, And the photo on the bottom right is right after implementation. And then here you can see we've got some thriving native dogwoods and willows and Oregon grape building their root systems into the new slope to help provide long-term bank stability. Let's say you're a community member or a streamside landowner wanting to get involved in public streamside native planting events. Well, you're in luck. You can join us for community plantings hosted by Friends of Trees. These are events that typically run October through April. They are a great way to get outside, have some fun with family and friends, meet new people. You'll learn how to plant and identify native streamside species and control common invasive weeds. Friends of Trees also offers a crew leader training in the fall where you can sign up to learn how to lead the small groups for future planting events. Our next volunteer planting party at Saturday, March 22nd at McKay is actually already full up. These events typically fill up pretty fast. But you can learn more and sign up online for other events in the future at friendsofTrees.org/Salem. And we also have, it's not a streamside planting event, but we have a neighborhood and street tree planting event coming up on April 12th. Community members can also learn more about streamside native plants and local wildlife by participating in Salem's second annual City Nature Challenge, coming up April 25th through April 28th. This is a 4-day worldwide community challenge to get outside and document wild plants and local wildlife using the iNaturalist mobile app. This challenge can be done on your own, just using the iNaturalist app around town, or you can join for a city-coordinated community event at a local park. The events for that will be announced in the coming weeks on our city website, and you can also connect with Stacy at our Clean Streams outreach booth at the end today if you're interested to participate or have any questions. So in addition to trying to get more native plants growing along streams, we're also actively working to remove one particularly destructive invasive weed from Salem streamsides. This is a species of invasive shrubs called knotweeds. And while many different weeds like invasive blackberry or English ivy also impact our streamsides and prevent native plants from thriving, knotweeds are uniquely impactful to our streamsides. This is in part due to their ability to damage infrastructure and property, as they can actually grow up through hard surfaces. They can grow up through things like pavement, retaining walls, even foundations. Knotweeds are also more resilient to manual treatments as compared to other weeds. They can survive mowing and digging, and in fact, manual treatments can often worsen or spread knotweed infestations, as small fragments of root and cane can each grow new plants on site or float downstream and make a new infestation further along the creek. Manual treatments can even stimulate the root systems to spread further in the soil, potentially sending a knotweed infestation underground to a neighboring property. Because of the impact knotweeds can have for habitat and infrastructure, the lack of effective manual treatments, knotweed is a high priority weed that the City of Salem provides free weed surveys for in the summer and a free treatment program for streamside landowners in the fall. Knotweed dies back in the winter, leaving dead canes above the ground, and then emerges as new buds in the early spring. Summertime is the easiest time to look for knotweed, when it can be 5 to 10 feet tall or larger, depending on the species variety. It has hollow stems and spade-shaped alternating leaves. Our annual stream crew interns document observations of streamside knotweed as they inspect and clean 60 miles of Salem area streams each summer. And then around August or September, we use the crew's knotweed observations to send an annual outreach letter to streamside landowners where knotweed was found and invite those landowners to enroll in our free streamside knotweed treatment program, treatments typically occur in September or October. If you think you may have knotweed on your property, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We can schedule a site visit. You can send me photos of plants you think may be knotweed, and we can send you information on enrolling in free annual treatments. There's some lookalikes, both native and invasive, sometimes dogwoods, cottonwoods, and other plants with similar spade-shaped leaves can look pretty similar. So I'm happy to take a look and share about our free treatment program. Oregon ash is a common native tree species found along stream sides in Salem and the Willamette Valley, which provide benefits for stream health, including erosion control and summertime stream shade. Unfortunately, ash trees are susceptible to die-off from an invasive pest called the emerald ash borer. Shown here with a penny for size scale, emerald ash borer is considered the most destructive forest pest ever seen in North America, killing hundreds of millions of trees. This pest made landfall in the U.S. in recent decades, starting on the East Coast, and was first observed in Oregon in 2022 in Forest Grove. Our partners at Marion Soil Water Conservation District will be sharing some more information about EAB, emerald ash borer, during their presentation. You can also look online at the City of Salem's website for emerald ash borer to learn about the city's response plan for slowing the spread of emerald ash borer in the city, including monitoring and pre-treatment of certain city-owned trees, as well as some helpful tips for slowing the spread of this pest, such as not moving firewood, which can transport this pest, and purchasing your firewood locally. If you have ash trees on your property, you can help protect them in some simple steps, including not pruning during the peak ash borer season, which typically runs April through October, and reducing stress during summer droughts by watering and mulching your ash trees. If you're not sure if you have an ash tree on your streamside property, you can contact me and request a free site visit for identifying if you have ash trees. And we can also provide you information on native plants that could be planted now in anticipation of future losses of ash trees on your streamside. Beaver populations across Oregon and the Willamette Valley have rebounded in recent decades after historic fur trapping had greatly reduced their numbers. Beaver provide important benefits to our streams for slowing down stormwater and creating diverse habitats, but at the same time, they might also cause some concerns for streamside landowners with beaver dams built in their streams or active beaver chew on some desired native vegetation. New protections for beavers were passed by the Oregon legislature in 2023, and rules enacted in 2024, which now classify beaver as protected fur bearers. This also established state permits and reporting requirements for certain landowner actions that may cause harm to beaver. So streamside landowners with beaver concerns are strongly encouraged to contact the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife for technical assistance and guidance. The City of Salem also has a website with helpful tips for coexisting with beaver, including methods for protecting desired plants from beaver chew, using fencing, or applying a sand paint mix on branches larger than 6-inch diameter. You can visit that at cityofsalem.net/beaver. Landowners can also contact me or Public Works Dispatch to share their beaver activity observations and request a free site visit. And the summer stream crew interns also document beaver activity, as shown on the map here. Observations of chew and beaver dams. Beaver can be found in various streams across Salem. In addition to caring for our stream sides, the city keeps a close eye on the quality of the water in our streams with a robust water quality monitoring program. Staff monitor for a variety of stream pollutants such as stream temperature, dissolved oxygen, which are important for aquatic life, E. coli bacteria, which can impact recreational uses and wildlife, and even certain heavy metals such as copper, lead, and zinc, and mercury. We have different types of monitoring timings and purposes, such as monitoring during storm events to characterize pollutants that have built up during dry weather and washed into the creeks during the rains. We also conduct monthly in-stream monitoring, which has a data set going back to 2001 and provides data for long-term trend analysis. We even have continuous in-stream monitoring stations that help us to evaluate creek health in real time and can detect and alert us to abnormalities that could be caused by illicit discharges, such as construction runoff or dumping of prohibited materials into storm drain grates or creeks themselves. We are fortunate to have an amazing 24/7 Public Works dispatch team that you can contact if you observe any stream-related concerns in your backyard creek or other city-related issues around town that you think the city should be aware of. Maybe you see a creek has a weird color, a weird odor, you see things floating on the water. Please let dispatch know so that city staff can respond and try to track down the source of potential illicit discharges. Maybe a tree has fallen into the creek or debris have built up and are blocking stream flows. Let us know so we can inspect and remove potential flood hazard debris. Whatever it may be, concerns can be routed through our dispatch to let us know about the problem 24/7. They are available by phone at 503-588-6311, as well as pwdispatch@cityofsalem.net. And at our Clean Streams booth in the back, we've got some pens with that phone number. That's a nice takeaway. Next, we'll invite Robin Dahlke, our floodplain manager. Robin is going to join us to share about flood hazard preparedness and things going on in developmental services for flood management. So welcome, Robin.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
Good evening. Again, I'm Robin Dahlke. I am the city's floodplain administrator. I'm also the division manager for community planning and development. So I, on both sides there, look at development regulations in the floodplain and also flood preparedness and protection of our very important floodplains in Salem's urban growth boundary. So I'm here tonight just to briefly introduce some changes that we're working on in our floodplain program, some big changes. I've been doing this for about 15 years, and these are some of the biggest changes I've seen, particularly related to protection of our floodplains. So the National Flood Insurance Program is in the process of integrating Endangered Species Act protections in Oregon. And we will be adopting we will be taking some changes to our floodplain regulations to a hearing in front of Planning Commission and then City Council that will look at adding some protections to our floodplains when it comes to floodplain storage, water quality, and riparian vegetation, where historically we haven't limited fill to a point in floodplains. And we've relied on our existing codes for riparian vegetation protections. We'll now be looking at more enhanced protections for those floodplain areas when it comes to development. These are pre-implementation measure changes as FEMA works through a biologic opinion and going through a NEPA review process, but we are taking action to adopt these in the interim and then look at long-term measures. So I wanted to bring this up tonight because there will be a notice going out to all property owners. If you're a renter, don't own the property, we're not sending it to all properties budget woes. We have to just stick with what we can afford for a mailing, but it will go to all floodplain property owners, not all stream side. When we send out a notice with some of this flood hazard preparedness information, we do send that to all residents so that they have that information readily available. But for this notice, it is just going to floodplain property owners, and these regulation changes will only affect those that are in the mapped special flood hazard areas. Eventually, we hopefully will expand that to some of our interim flood hazard areas, so we are looking at these same protections for all of the streamside properties that have potential for development. And really the biggest change is we want to look at some habitat assessments to see what can be done in a development design plan to protect some of those really important functions of our floodplains. We also, in collaboration with the Glen Gibson Creek Watershed Council, have been working on, there's a very involved, very important person in our audience who has been doing a majority of the work on this, a floodplain species assessment, which is looking at specifically in Salem, some species that we should be looking to protect that benefit from our floodplains, and what we can do to their habitats to avoid harm to those listed species. And we're also working on another plan that will look at natural functions of these floodplains. And it's a really good tandem effort with some of these changes we're making to our floodplain regulations, which focus more just on the fish species. This plan for floodplain species looks at a broader range of species that we should be protecting. So just wanted to be here tonight to introduce myself, introduce these changes, be prepared for a notice that will be coming out. We'll have a longer presentation at Planning Commission on April 15th when we have a hearing, and then again at Council. And I will be back at the Clean Streams booth with some information and handouts if anyone wants to grab stuff on your way out. And then just quickly to the slide that Luke has prepared, we do have a lot of resources that we keep up to date with information if we do have impending flood information, sandbag stations, and ways to do preparation. And we'll always put the plug that you should, if you haven't already signed up for the Marion Polk Alert, so that you can get advanced warning if we do have flood monitoring that says we have an event possibly coming our way. So keep it short and be available for questions. Thank you.
As I pull up a presentation for Jeff Johnson, housekeeping note I forgot at the beginning, we'll reuse these popcorn bins, so if you put it in the trash, maybe grab it, or I'll grab it later. And if you have some popcorn on the ground, maybe try to sweep it up a little, but we'll be doing a sweep at the end. And of course, there's restrooms and drinking fountains in the back on the right. And with that, we are welcoming Jeff Johnson, our natural resource planner, to share about a riparian corridor inventory project. And Jeff, you're all set. We'll take it away. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Luke. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. This riparian corridor inventory process is something that we have started a couple years ago, and we are currently starting to do the field work for this. And so I'm here tonight to ask those of you who live on streams to give us permission to let our contractor go on site to do this inventory. So why are we doing this? City Council directed staff to work on this, and it's part of a statewide planning goal. It's goal number 5, which these were developed in the 70s in response to rapid population growth and in concerns about environment and livability in the state. And so it sets up a 2-part process, and for goal 5, we have a local resource inventory, which is this riparian corridor inventory, and then the second phase of the process is developing plans and policies to cover those areas. So what is a riparian corridor? Well, for goal 5, it includes the water resources, which is basically the stream, any wetlands down in the basin there. You can see in the bottom where it's pink. It also includes the riparian areas, which is the transition zone from that water area, wetted area, up to a drier upland area. And they're very important for reducing pollutants, for maintaining water flows and water temperature during times of low flow. They also, if you happen to live along a stream, you tend to have a higher property value than folks who do not live on streams. And so we're doing this because we have approximately 110 miles of waterways in the city. And so we need to understand what's happening in these riparian areas. And so we have crews going out in the next couple months to basically go to your property and map the riparian vegetation, as well as look for wetlands in that area. So if they were come to your property, I might be getting ahead of myself here a little bit. Yes, so they'll come to your property. If you would like, they can notify you before coming. They can also, you can be there when they're there. You can ask them questions, watch what they're doing. It basically requires digging two holes that are about a foot wide and maybe 18 to 20 inches deep. They'll look at the soils, which is one of the factors that helps determine if something is a wetland or not. So they have to dig one in an area if they think there's wetland soils, and then they have to dig one that's outside of those soils as well. So if it happens to be a turf area or anywhere else, they always fill the holes back in, and if it's turf, they'll place the turf back on top to minimize any disturbance to your vegetation. We're going to use all this data to develop a final map, and then all that data is going to be given to the Community Development Department to deal with the policies and plans after this. And so we have about 2,500 streamside landowners, and so far we have about 60 responses. So we're looking at a really low level of data collection here. They will extrapolate from the data they can collect, but as you can imagine, having only 60 out of 2,500 is a real problem for collecting all of this data. So in the back we have a booth, and there's we have some sheets you can fill out if you would like to allow this to happen. You can also contact me directly via email. Please just include your name, your property address, and a phone number so we can contact you, and then let us know if we're allowed to go on site, if only with notification, or if you don't want us on site. So please come back and see us back there. I have a big stack of these, and so if you want, please take them to your neighbors and share this, and then they can respond. This will be taking place basically from now through the end of May. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Luke, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We'll switch back to our first slide real fast. Here we go. Oh. Oh, what did I do? That's not what I was expecting. Sorry, technical difficulties. I think I need to switch out of Jeff's somehow. Escape. Yeah. Hey, there we go. Okay. Well, this is for our annual Summer Stream Crew Internships 2024 program accomplishments. With more than 90 miles of urban streams to care for in the city, we can't do everything with just our permanent staff. And that's where our seasonal Summer Stream Crew interns come into play to help keep our waterways clean and healthy for our community members and the wildlife that call the Salem area home. And fortunately for us, we are joined today by two of our 2024 Stream Crew interns, and we'll welcome them to introduce themselves. Come on up.
Hi there, I'm Harlow Vanderlaan. I'm a junior at Willamette University, and I'm majoring in environmental science and biology.
Hi, I'm Serena Walter, and I am a junior at Willamette University, and I'm majoring in environmental science and data science.
Serena and Harlow will be sharing some of our slides shortly. The purpose of the Stream Crew program, Stream Crew began in 1998 in response to 1996 historic floods that washed through the city of Salem and across the greater Willamette Valley. The first few years of the Stream Crew program were focused exclusively on removal of trash and flood hazard debris, and were led by operations and maintenance staff, including adults and custody work crews. In 2003, the program transitioned into a college internship crew to engage students with natural resource backgrounds and include an expanded scope to also inspect stream conditions and enhance stream habitat while performing their trash and flood hazard removal duties. Over the last 2 decades of the internship program, the Stream Crew has served as the eyes and ears for our local streams. In addition to being a direct benefit to the health of our community's waterways, the Stream Crew internship program helps the city meet requirements for stormwater pollution control and prevention under the city's Oregon Department of Environmental Quality MS4 stormwater permit. The program also helps meet requirements for the city's voluntary participation in FEMA National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System, which helps to reduce flood insurance premiums, among many other benefits. To meet these permit and program requirements, the Stream Crew inspects and removes trash and flood hazards from a total of 60 miles of waterway. Here's a summary review of highlights for the 2024 Stream Crew program, broken down by main watersheds in Salem, and the next two slides have some historic context. This year, nearly 38,000 pounds of trash were removed from the streams. As is typical in many years, Mill Creek and Shelton Ditch together made up most of the trash weight removed, totaling more than 17,000 pounds and accounting for about 46% of the season's trash. The crew also inspected more than 500 culvert and bridge locations, documented nearly 300 sites of debris jams, and invasive weed blockages in the stream channel. Stormwater staff and Stream Crew members reviewed this data, conducted site visits, and evaluated flood risks and potential aquatic benefits of these debris. A total of 193 cubic yards of flood hazard debris and invasive weeds were removed in 2024, with Pringle Creek watershed having the most flood debris removed at 68 cubic yards. And the crew also identified 149 observations of the invasive knotweed, and landowners were sent mailers offering enrollment in free knotweed treatment for the fall. Here's a historic graph of the annual trash removed seasonally since 1998. There are a lot of variables that can affect trash totals. In the early years, trash and debris were often commingled during disposal, so those higher numbers may likely reflect the weight of those debris disposed with the trash. From 2009 to 2020, we saw a general trend of reducing trash levels. However, this has risen since 2021 with a slight drop in 2024, and we are hopeful to see a decline continue in the coming years. Here you can see a chart of total cubic yards of flood hazard debris and invasive weeds removed each year since 1998. This can vary based on storm seasons and changes in the Stream Crew program. You can see an uptick in 2012, likely reflecting a major flood event that happened before the Stream Crew in the winter season. In 2021, you can see a likely increase due to the major ice storm that brought a lot of trees and branches down before that summer. Since 2022, we've dedicated a lot of staff time and crew time to reviewing these debris jams, visiting priority sites, and identifying debris that can be left in channel to provide stream habitat benefits with minimal risk for flood hazards. This additional effort has resulted in fewer individual jams being removed as compared to many prior years. Oh, well, welcome Harlow for a minute.
So here are some photo examples of the crew working on trash cleanup. The Stream Crew is tasked with removing trash that is carried into the waterways every year through littering, dumping, including various plastics and metals, household items, food, packaging, and more. Trash removal is a physically demanding task and requires a keen sense of safety and awareness as the interns navigate the terrain of the streams and inspect materials found for potential safety hazards before bagging and hauling it out of the creeks.
So the Stream Crew documents and removes weed debris and invasive weeds when identified to be a potential flood hazard for flooding or damage to structure. We work diligently to balance the importance of having these woody debris in the channel for habitat and stream health while protecting public safety and preventing flood hazards. Our interns are trained on identifying and assessing debris, and the crew collects detailed field data and photos to document potential flood hazards and the results of work conducted to address those hazards. Staff reviews this data, provides ongoing guidance, conducts site visits, and also monitors select debris locations after large rain events to reassess flood hazard potential and habitat benefits. We just reviewed some of our debris jam data after the February rains that we had. Welcome, Harlow.
Some locations, such as near culverts and bridges, are not as suitable for leaving woody debris for habitat, as they can become more likely to accumulate other debris and cause flood hazard concerns. The crew also removes a significant amount of invasive weeds such as blackberry, English ivy, and reed canary grass when identified as a flood hazard, and such as weeds blocking the channel flow or obstructing culverts and bridges.
Here's an example of a large piece of woody debris that was assessed by the crew along Pringle Creek at Bush Park and left intact for stream health benefits with minimal flood hazard potential. For assessing this debris, the crew and staff looked at a variety of factors, including reviewing flood hazard and essential salmon habitat maps, inspecting whether this wood was secured in place and unlikely to move, whether significant debris had accumulated at the structure so far, or if the location and shape of the structure was likely to catch significant debris in the future, and identifying stream health habitat features the debris is currently or may be able to provide. Ultimately, it was determined that this piece of wood was Ultimately, it was determined that this piece of wood was at low risk for flood hazards, was located in a designated essential salmon habitat reach, and was providing a variety of habitat benefits, including the creation of a scour pool on the downstream end and depositing a sediment and gravel bar on the upstream end. Both stream habitat features can benefit of various aquatic creatures such as fish and microinvertebrates. In fact, this debris location is often a featured habitat viewing point during clean stream outreach events at Bush Park to explain the benefits and importance of in-stream woody debris and planting streamside trees for future woody debris recruitment. Since 2017, the stream crew has taken advantage of new technology for GPS-based field data collection and data management. The crew can now collect GPS data points with corresponding photographs and field notes to document a wide variety of stream conditions and observations. This data is used by city staff for responding to issues the crew identifies, as well as tracking changes over time.
One of the data sets the crew collected special for last year focused on documenting observations of natural and man-made stream features that may be passage barriers for local native fish. Fish passage is important for providing connectivity for fish to freely access and migrate across vital spawning and rearing grounds. The crew's data will be helpful for updating a prior fish passage inventory and prioritization report. And the crew documented about 80 potential fish passage barriers. So this will be helpful for reviewing our prior assessments and updating priorities such as city projects, such as capital improvement projects.
When the crew has time available at the end of the summer work season, they can complete streamside native planting projects where the crew will manually remove weeds along a stream and replant with native vegetation. For 2024, the stream crew conducted 2 planting projects, including the one shown here along 60 linear feet of streamside at Powell Creek. To start, in the early summer, the landowner hired a landscaper to cut and haul away the majority of the invasive weeds, after which the stream crew weed whacked and removed an additional 3.5 cubic yards of weeds. In December, the stream crew returned to remove 3 cubic yards of invasive blackberry roots, reed canary grass, and yellow flag iris. The crew then planted 28 one-gallon containerized native plants, which included trees and shrubs, to provide shade and erosion control benefits. The stream crew will monitor this project annually, and the Urban Streamside Program Coordinator will provide guidance on maintenance for the landowner.
The city will be hiring again this spring for our 2025 summer stream crew. The job posting will occur around late March through early April, available online at cityofsalem.net/jobs, and you can connect with us in the lobby after if you'd like to sign up for our stream crew job email list to be alerted when the applications are posted online. The crew's primary work season runs from late June/early July through September/October, and there is potential for interning up to 6 months total if the work is available. This position is an excellent opportunity for current college students in the natural resources and related sciences and those who have recently graduated within the last 6 months to gain hands-on experience with urban stream fieldwork, assessments, and GIS data collection. I had a lot of fun this past summer working with a team of interns. Being a stream crew intern gave me valuable experience in fieldwork and data collection. Oh, sorry. I learned a lot about urban stream management and how pollution affects the whole stream network. I also developed a better understanding of the importance of native species bringing in urban environments. As I plan to build my career in this region, gaining a deeper understanding of Salem's local environment was especially valuable. I'm excited to apply the knowledge and skills that I've acquired during my time on Stream Crew to my future career as a data scientist in environmental field.
I also had an amazing time on Stream Crew during the 2024 season. I was able to make so many new friends who I still regularly spend time with, and I was able to learn a lot. I enjoyed being able to see the behind the scenes of how the city manages streams around Salem, and was especially excited to learn about their native planting program. I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to be a part of this crew and was able to see the positive impact we had for Salem's waterways.
Just to share a couple examples of Stream Crew alum who you may interact with as current city staff. We have some folks in stormwater, including Joe Brooks, a stormwater quality monitoring technician, Justin Boington, a flow monitoring analyst. We have in our audience, we have Kyle, and Kyle's with our green stormwater infrastructure and natural areas, also with stormwater quality. We also have Oz Meza in stormwater operations and maintenance. Stephen Vander Koevering, a environmental compliance specialist with our city environmental services. And returning recently, Meredith Greer, a city natural resource planning manager who's joining here today. And just a quick plug. We are recruiting now, posted on Monday for a 2-week run online at salemcity.net/jobs, a natural resources technician position for a stream crew and riparian assessment lead. So we'll be happy to talk about that, but they'll be helping with preparing and running the stream crew this summer and doing some stream assessments on Pringle Creek. Okay, we're almost on time-ish. So thank you all. I want to segue to our local partners. Yes, thank you. Yeah, thanks to our wonderful stream crew interns. It's midterm week at Willamette University, so a big extra round of applause for them for sharing their time. Well, let's bring up our local partners for Salem Streams. We'll start with Marion Soil Water Conservation District with Chelsea Banks, our natural areas conservationist. Chelsea has some wonderful information about the district as well as that emerald ash borer. Let me see if I can get you there real quick, Chelsea. I know. And we're screen extend. Okay. Chelsea, take it away. Thank you.
Okay. Sweet, thank you. Great presentation. It's so amazing to see all of the awesome work that City of Salem is doing every year at the Stream Symposium. I'm Chelsea Blank. I am here with Marion Soil and Water Conservation District, which represents the east side of Salem. But I still have information that pertains to Polk folks too, so I didn't forget about you. And yeah, I'm the Natural Areas Conservation Planner, and I am excited to be here. So I want to give a little background about Marion SWCD because all SWCDs are a little bit different and unique. So just a little background of us. So we are a special district, which means we are governed by a board of directors, which now we have a full board, which is the first time in a few years as I understand it, which is really exciting. And we are non-regulatory, so we are a special kind of pseudo-government that doesn't enforce regulation, which allows us to kind of operate as a middle person from those regulatory entities and individuals who are looking for help to get into compliance potentially. So our main purpose is to provide assistance to folks who are interested in conserving soil and water and habitat. So we have our history, soil and water conservation districts, from the Dust Bowl. So it was originally soil conservation districts because we were just losing mass amounts of soil at alarming levels, which was a national catastrophe. But we have evolved since then. And so now we do serve urban areas, forests, backyard habitats. We have a wide range of folks that we serve now. So a couple things that we offer at the district include technical assistance, and this is free, so this includes things like site visits, phone calls, connecting landowners to the proper resource or agency that might be able to better help them with a situation or a question that we might not have the answer to. We help folks figure out kind of the permits that might be needed for a project. We help with project plans, and we help with filling out applications for our grant programs. So we do offer some grant programs at the district. We are lucky that we can do that. One of them is a conservation assistance grant, which is kind of our bread and butter for especially landowners who want to do a conservation project on their own property. And this is a cost share reimbursement program, and we actually raised the award amount to $10,000 a year. And that just requires that the landowner also contributes at least $10,000 worth of their own match. So that can even be their time and labor. But we also have other grant opportunities like for education and school entities who want to take their kids on field trips for conservation and natural resource education. We also have a partner grant program, which is relatively new at the district, and so that is a really awesome opportunity for nonprofits, school organizations, tribes, cities, municipalities, watershed councils, things like that, to apply for larger funding opportunities than what is otherwise offered in our conservation assistance grant. So that's a really great opportunity for us to partner on larger projects like watershed level projects. And then we have lots of different education programs, one of them being Salmon Watch, which is a field trip program where students come out on Pack Saddle Park on the North Santiam River and can watch salmon spawning, and so that's really fun. We also love to have volunteers help us with that, if anyone is interested in volunteering with the local SWCD. We also do monthly webinars called First Fridays that are informational on a wide range of conservation and natural resource topics. And those are free. We also record them and post them on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch them as you like. And we also do in-person tours, which we call Conservation Club. These can also be workshops, so these are really good opportunities to connect with your fellow nature enthusiasts, folks who have implemented projects that you might be interested in learning about, and just seeing those things on the ground. So for urban streamside residents, a lot of common projects that you might consider would have to do with removing invasive species, so a lot of things that Luke and the stream team kind of went into, but that's really one of the most common concerns that we see along stream sides, and that's in urban and natural areas because unfortunately invasive species are everywhere. So a lot of our streamside projects do involve removing invasives, but then you always do want to follow up with replanting with native species so that you can prevent the weed regrowth from coming back. We also help with replacing fish passage barriers, so that can be things like culverts and replacing them with bridges. We can also help with installing hedgerows if you want to enhance your wildlife and pollinator habitats, and that can also help to improve water quality along streams. And we also help to, if folks want to remove obstructions and trash from waterways and implement erosion control methods. So those are some of the really common projects that you might be considering if you are along a stream, and we might be able to help you. So I did want to give some updates about the emerald ash borer, which Luke did mention briefly, which is the most destructive invasive species in the country, which I actually, yeah, that's a scary statistic. But yeah, so I did want to give some updates because Marion County has been now put on the list of infested counties, along with Yamhill and Clackamas, and Polk is close. So Polk County is also in the warning zone of it's good to be aware of the signs and symptoms and what you can do to help mitigate the impacts of EAB. So here is the updated map that they have been working on the new ODF, Oregon Department of Forestry, and Oregon Department of Ag website, which is a great resource. It's meant to function as a hub of all of the most updated information for EAB. So this is the updated map. You can see the red outline is actually the quarantine area. So this means that this is implemented by ODA, and any movement of ash wood is not allowed in the quarantine area at all, because that does put other areas that are not yet infested at risk of becoming infested. And then you can see all the different colors. Those are different layers that you can play around with if you do want to go in and explore this map on your own. So you can see those red dots. Those red dots in the center of these zones are the confirmed infestation areas. So this one in Marion County and Clackamas County was most recently discovered in August of 2024. But there was a pretty large infestation, so it's likely that it has been there for a while. And then the orange circle surrounding those red dots is the 5-mile radius around the confirmed infestation area, which means that likely EAB is going to spread into that zone within the next few years. And then the yellow is the 25-mile radius around that, which is you have some time to prepare and plan for what to do to mitigate the effects of EAB coming onto a site. And as Luke mentioned, some of those mitigations can be underplanting. Focusing on planting a variety of native trees and shrubs to anticipate the loss of the ash canopy eventually. There's a lot of research being done to see if there are any genetically resistant ash species or seed stock that we can plant to hopefully not lose all of our ash trees, but there's a lot more research that still needs to be done before we can confirm anything like that. So why does this matter? Why am I talking to urban stream residents about EAB? Well, as Luke had mentioned, ash trees are really common along riparian areas. Oregon ash is our native ash tree, is actually the most common tree that you will see along stream sides throughout Oregon. So this is the main canopy that provides shade and allows water to be cool, clean, and clear for fish habitat, macroinvertebrates, amphibians, and it also provides erosion control. But it's not just a riparian area issue, it's also an urban issue because there are also a variety of different ash species that are used as street trees in urban areas. So with the loss of all of the ash trees from EAB, we risk seeing degraded water quality, less shade, which means warmer water, less habitat for wildlife and pollinators. This also could create hazards to people and homes with dead trees, and risk losing one of our unique native tree species, which we never want to do. This picture is a pretty good example of how EAB has caused severe ash loss in the Midwest, where it has been found the longest in the country. So you can see the before and after picture. This is a street that is lined with ash trees, and then EAB clearly killed all of them within a matter of a couple years. So you can see how this becomes really expensive, really dangerous, and a huge strain on our resources when you have to deal with all of these dead trees all at once. So, what can you do about EAB? So unfortunately, once EAB has been confirmed in an area, it cannot be eradicated, but there's still hope to help mitigate the effects of it and try to save some of our riparian areas and save some of our urban areas from increasing the effects of climate change and losing all of the ash trees all at once. So some of the key things to keep in mind is to don't move firewood. This is actually a huge campaign that is going around all of the infested counties and states throughout the country, because this is actually the most common way that invasive pests spread across state lines. So that is the key thing, is buy where you burn. And learn to properly identify ash trees. iNaturalist is a great way to do that, or to have a natural resource professional like us come out for a site visit. And be familiar with the signs and symptoms of EAB so that you can know whether or not you need to make a report to the invasive hotline. Because it's really important to be correct and accurate with your reports if possible, so we're not wasting resources and valuable time in trying to narrow down where exactly the infestation is spreading. And along those lines, report suspicions of infestations once you do recognize signs and symptoms of EAB. And for now, we're saying don't plant more ash trees, but instead focus on a diversity of mixed species. This also helps create a resilient ecosystem that is better suited to bounce back after any kind of natural disaster or pest or disease. So as I mentioned, being familiar with the signs and symptoms is really important because they are different. So signs is just something that might be common in ash trees or any tree really, but it's not a specific prescription that you have EAB on the site. So on the left side, you'll see some signs such as epicormic shoots coming out from the stem of the ash tree, so that can just be a sign of any stress to the tree. Also dying canopy, so right now going into April is when ash trees really start budding out and flowering, and so you might start to see some canopy that looks like it doesn't have as much leaves as other parts of the tree, so that could be a sign that it might be weak and suffering from something, as well as woodpecker holes. So you can see those woodpecker holes are pretty round or oval, and they're a little bit larger than what we would say is an actual an actual sign of EAB. And then on the right side, you will see those are actual signs that you have EAB on your site. So that is the D-shaped exit holes, which is really distinctive to EAB. No other borer or beetle makes that specific shape in the bark. So if you see that, that's a good sign that you should make a report, as well as those S-shaped galleries. If you happen to see the bark splitting and you see the S shape underneath the bark, then that is also a sign that you should make a report. And so here are some more resources if you want to learn more about how to handle EAB. What to plant instead of ash trees. And I will say the Oregon EAB Hub webpage is going to be the best spot to start. But for local contacts, I would go to your local SWCD website, and they will have contact information for someone like me who might be able to come out on site and give you some next steps of how to handle it if you think you might have ash trees. And then there also is the OSU Forest Pest Detector Training, which kind of goes more in depth on all of these signs and symptoms, what to do, and the biology of EAB. So that's really handy to have. And don't move firewood, like I mentioned, and then the ODF contact right there. And I just realized I totally forgot to put the report link on here, but you can find that on the Oregon EAB webpage or the Marion SWCD webpage. And then last thing, I just wanted to talk about some of our upcoming events. So we actually have a Streamside Strategies event coming up next week, so that's March 21st, and this one will tour a couple sites. One that has done a successful riparian restoration project on working lands, and we'll have folks from ODF, Department of Forestry, come out and talk to us about EAB, and we'll practice identifying signs and symptoms on site. And then we're also going to do our own riparian assessment and kind of workshop together. We're also giving away free plants at this event. So if you are free on Friday, feel free to come out and join us on this event. You do need to RSVP first, so make sure you do that. And then we have another event coming up on April 3rd, which is going to tour the water processing facilities for the drinking water of Salem. So it's going to start at Guerin Island, which is the Salem Water Treatment Facility. And then we are going to have lunch and hear from someone from DEQ about emergency preparedness for protecting drinking water sources. And then we're going to end at the Willow Lake Pollution Facility Center. So we can kind of see the whole journey of the water from start to finish, how it's processed, how we get it clean enough for us to drink it, and then what happens after we use it. So I hope you all are free to join us for this. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me. I have a table back there with some more information, handouts, and contact information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all the great EAB and Marion Soil Water District info from Chelsea. We will bring up, for Polk Soil Water Conservation District, we have Mark Bell, and I knew at one point, Mark, how to get this larger for you. Let me try F11. Okay. If it doesn't work, oh. Well, there used to be a button at the bottom. Full screen. Oh, Control L. Okay. With that, Mark, take it away. I don't know why it's not displaying on that for you too. Okay.
That's fine. I got it all. All right, well, I'm gonna say, I'll see how long I can stay up here before I start coughing a fit or two, but, hello, Polk SDVCD, we're the other side of the river from Marion County from Noldes. I was gonna say, I am mostly, going to be doing my best to highlight, this particular document. I have a copied up in front. There's a QR code for it. It is on our website. It is on the Clackamas SWCD website because they are the ones that made it. It is the Streamside Planting and Maintenance Workbook. It is perfect for a lot of reasons.
A little closer to the mic.
Thank you much, EM. Appreciate that. All right. But first, I just wanted to say welcome again from the Polk SWCD. Please stay in touch. With our socials and such and things like that, our physical location may be in question coming up for the next little while. We'll see. NRCS has been having a lot of changes and all that. Quarterly, coming out is our Cultivating Our newsletter, but we do send out more regular updates. Besides that, we've got a lot of volunteer and other events and stuff like that that we'd love for folks to be able to get a little bit more rapid, updates about as well, too. Oh, good. All right, yes. So, title slide on this one. This is a really excellent tool. What I am trying to do is, in light of, likely ours and many of our sort of staff capacities being reduced, this is something that I need to get out to the public. This is stuff that more folks need to know about, more folks need to be able to do. So this is a wonderful guide, and I want to just highlight a couple of things out of it. We've been talking about what we've been doing, but why? Why do we restore streams? In a nutshell, it's basically at the bottom. We put in riparian plants to make sure that sediment, chemicals, and other things that we don't want to end up in our drinking water don't end up in our drinking water. That's basically the entire point of riparian restoration and all of that, and that's really just why I wanted to hammer that home. Vegetation in any state along a stream bank. As I've said before in this, this forum before, and I've had a much more science-heavy slide for it, but 35 feet, that's your goal. More is better, but every inch up to 35 feet of vegetative buffer that you can give a stream is absolutely worth its weight in gold. This book is full of decision tools and other data gathering pieces that I want to be in more people's hands. I want more people to understand this. I want more people to be out there using them themselves, because I can't do it for everybody. I would love to, but I can't. Web Soil Survey is the first one that's highlighted here. It's talking about soil on your property. The tool itself, very powerful. It is only moderately friendly to use, but suffice to say that it highlights here, soil determines so much of what is going to grow on your property. It's basically the most important thing that is going to determine what you should plant or what's going to be successful there, period, besides how much sun it gets. You can modify how much sunlight things get, but it is much harder to modify the soil. So take a look at these things, try and figure out what you can with it. We can help more of it, say at our SWCD, other SWCDs, plenty of the other watershed councils, other nonprofits, they can help you work off of this. Also importantly, make your maps, whether they are classical artistic or more sort of modern art, something you'd put on your refrigerator. Any accurate map that you make of your, of your property is going to be useful for you. So please think about the planning in a visual sense as opposed to as much as just timelines as well too. But if you don't want to do that, or you've got some things to automate it, we do have technology for that. In this guideline we are talking about, it points specifically out Oregon Land Mapper. This will drill down to tax lot levels, anything. I pulled together, this one from Polk County. This one happens to be from around outside of Falls City, sort of randomly chosen here. So it's got a lot of layers that it'll show you. Aerial, street, terrain, the streams, soil types, exactly like this. It'll break it down. It'll show you soil types spatially there. It'll also show you, it'll tell you some basic information about them. Some of the more uncommon things that you're going to want to know is drainage. If, say, forestry rating, if it has a forestry rating, that probably means it's going to grow Doug fir really well. If it doesn't have a forestry rating, maybe not. Conservation opportunity areas. Is your property or the area that you're looking at prioritized by state, federal, or other funding agencies? These will tell you that. It'll break it down there very fast. This is very important, maybe just for maybe when you come to ask for assistance in a more formal way, but it'll help you understand the landscape that you're looking at as well too. This one's also showing here then to, in case you have a real sense of not knowing whether or not you can gauge canopy cover, you can go out to an area that you already know, and you can look at this map and says, well, these areas, 70 to 100% close, I know that, I can kind of gauge that. Calculate your own, calibrate your own internal ways of thinking about what closed canopy versus, moderate versus fully open can be, is all readily available for you. And that's just one of the tools that's mentioned in this. And then we get into invasive weeds. This is a little bit more down to earth. There are plenty of common weeds. We've talked about plenty of these. My personal opinion, knotweed is absolutely going to be the worst one that there is. There is always going to be invasive weeds. It's all about it's all about your prioritizations of how successful you are at being able to get rid of them. The Japanese knotweed is a specialty one. It requires a lot of specific techniques to be able to get rid of. It's not nearly so tough as some of the others, but these are some of the toughest. Not only that, since this is Clackamas's document that I'm borrowing, I'll shout out, they have a WeedWise program, and they have an entire another newsletter that'll cover just invasives that are coming from slightly further north up in the valley of where we are right here. That means it's probably making its way south. So what they're seeing, what they're talking about, assume you're probably going to be dealing with sooner than later if you're not already. Natives. Much less depressing than invasives. Learn to ID your natives. You'll have much better time walking around the neighborhood IDing natives than just knowing all the weeds in your neighborhood. I promise you that. I was gonna say, one of the best things about natives that you can find is if you're in a place where you're saying, hey, this reminds me of the area where I want to plant something, look what's there. If Nine Bark loves the area that you feel like reminds you of home, that means there's wet roots in those areas. That means that you should be, planting some heavy, wetland brush there. It'll be perfect. If you are seeing Doug fir flourishing in an area that reminds you of your hillside, plant that. These are context clues. You could take that from a large scale to a very small scale. You could take it out, all of that. Also mentioned here, I know it was mentioned before, iNaturalist and Oregon Flora. Oregon Flora, it's not just about identifying plants. They have tools. You can put together pollinator mixes. You can put together rain garden mixes. They can filter based on how much sun you might be getting in an area, whether it's a good substitute for another one. Excellent tools, just not only just for, not just for identification, but for planning what you might want to plant or what you might want to replace some of these weeds with. And then iNaturalist. It takes a community, and at this point, because we just don't have the manpower at any sort of level, we need the volunteers. We need citizen science. We need folks to tell us where the invasive weeds are. Rapid detection, rapid response for weed control only works if the detection actually happens. We can't respond without people telling us where these weeds are. So we need you all to be out there knowing exactly where they are and being able to tell us, ideally with a GPS point, but we'll take whatever we can. This is a perfect opportunity, not only be able to to do that with the invasives, but also to be able to find the natives that you want. So many natives that say that you can promote in your in areas can be propagated based on cuttings. You don't necessarily have to have bare roots. So if you can go to a spot where there is plenty of well-growing things, not just willow, but plenty of others, Douglas spirea in particular is another one. Go out with a couple of hand shears, get yourself some extra plants, get them out there. As long as they're getting propagated properly and getting sent out to and creating more plants, go for it. Now, there's a lot of time charts and things like that, and I wouldn't wish an MBA on anybody, but these are the types of timeline charts that you need to to have and be at least be able to read to be able to make sure that you know what you can do to take care of some of those invasives in there. Old man's beard, hawthorn, English ivy are on here. They all have different control methods, both mechanical, chemical, otherwise. These are some specific recommendations that were, as far as chemicals, that were put together for many of these here. They were, in this publication, they were reviewed at the time. I myself am not a licensed chemical applicator, and I won't say that these are good today as they were the day they were printed. But as always, the label is the law with those. But in general, these are going to be what works for these, and please just double check and make sure that they, haven't gotten updated, but cheat sheets, they're all there for every single one of the weeds that you could possibly have, or likely to have at least ready to go. Moving further on, specifically about about some of the other bits of with chemicals, and riparian areas, ground nesting birds. We are basically coming up. This guideline refers to April 15th to July 31st as the primary nesting season for ground birds. I'd put it more as, maybe this weekend. But if you have any, additional work that you might be able to do in an area that, that might be, habitat for ground nesting birds, do a little bit of work as soon as possible and then leave it. And as far as, and I do love that this document particularly points out, thistles, excellent pollinator source, terrible weed. please still get rid of it. But there are ways to mitigate your impacts on thistle and any other thing that is a pollinator-friendly species but isn't supposed to be here still. Now, progress tracking. Everybody needs a little bit of this. I mean, personally, progress tracking has been my savior and my eternal enemy in all of this job. Luke, you too, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's important to keep track of it. Put it on your fridge, whatever keeps it in your mind. It's important. Livestock, it's in the document. I know we're talking streams, urban streams today, so we're just going to point out that it's there. And once more, just because I really wanted to hammer this home, it mentions it here again, as I have said here, over the years before, 35 feet. 35 feet is what we really hope we can get for a stream buffer. Any more is better, but absolutely everything that you can get up to that point, we are deeply grateful for additional, vegetation up to there. It's not possible in urban situations, or even agricultural situations every time, but everything we can that we can get up to that is deeply helpful. And again, one last little bit, shout out here for Emerald Ash Borer. Assume it's here. We don't necessarily have the official detections, but it's here. It's been following me across the country for the last 30 years. It's here. So what you can do is you can plant Pacific crabapple and a few others. That's my personal go-to right now for for my recommendation for ash replacements. Don't go hacking them down just yet, but as you need them, Pacific crabapple is a good choice. One last thing I wanted to point out in this one, I almost never see this definition of the different zones of the riparian area with a illustration where it has an irregular banks on either side, particularly that overbank zone. Look how huge it is on one side compared to the incised bank zone. This is why this work can be very different for one landowner and another landowner who may share the same stream, may share this same stream, but different sides, or landowners who may have both sides, or it is always a very dynamic and unique situation. These are always, to the best of our knowledge, the best rules of thumb we can give you. We will come out and we will visit you and we will help you give this specific advice as often as possible, as much as we possibly can. And we really hope that we can get as many tools into folks' hands to be able to make sure that y'all can do this as much as you can to be able to help educate your communities and help us be there help you and be able to get through more as we possibly can. There is plenty going through here that talks specifically about there's pages and pages of specific species, where they go, what they can fit, so it's a wonderful resource. Also, just last bit, just to point out again, like I said, cuttings, propagations, all very, very readily available for most native species, at least the brushy species. It can work really well. Bare roots are really small and can go, and can really put together, really develop an area very quickly. Always with plantings, plenty of moisture protection, whether that's additional watering, whether that's mulching, whether that's making sure that you're pulling those grasses immediately away from where those root zones are for those first few years. Very critical. More of this in here. Finally, a couple little bits of acknowledgments on there. And then finally, just from the Polk SWCD, I will say again, keep in touch with us more than just our quarterly newsletter if you can. We have a couple of particular events coming up. We are putting together and installing some refreshed bird boxes out on one of our properties out here coming up was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now, yes. And we also have one of our promoting the winter wildlife field days as well too, with Independence as well, and in Basket Slough. Those are still coming up. So yes, please stay in touch and say thank you all very much for your time tonight. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a good timekeeper for you guys. We're at 7:32, so I apologize for that. If anybody does need to go, just make sure to grab business cards and contacts on the way out. I did want to give a chance for our two watershed councils to give some stage presence. We have Jeff Anderson and Bob Bush, one of the two or both. Here comes Jeff. Claggett Creek Watershed Council operating in the Claggett Creek area, which is North Salem and parts of Kaiser. I'll try and get this out so you're the focus, Jeff.
Again, I'm Jeff Anderson. I'm chair of the Claggett Creek Watershed Council. Bob Bush here is our treasurer, so he counts the money. Not a lot that we have, but he counts it. Claggett Creek Watershed Council was reformed in 1999. An interesting little history. We have a high school named McNary, part of the Salem-Keizer School District, and that's named after the governor of Oregon, Charles McNary. But Charles is named after his grandpa, Charles Claggett. Claggett Creek was the original homestead farm at River Road and Wheatland was the Claggett farm. His daughter is recorded in history as the first teacher in the Keizer area in the 1800s. It's got a rich history, and Keizer has a spirit called volunteerism, and we can get projects where we can get 5 people or 200 people based on the project that volunteer to do different projects. And so when we reformed this, we partnered with the Rotary Club, the City of Keizer, a number of different organizations. And one example where we went off the creek is the Keizer Rapids Park. There's a natural section you can walk through. Over a 5-year period, we took out tons of Scotch broom that had been taken over the whole area for how many decades. It took us 5 years to totally eradicate it, but it took 3 years in a row of over 200 volunteers using those from Marion County, I might add, these trench things, you pull them up by the root. So what we do is, our communication system is pretty much Facebook. We're working on a communication plan to move into the next period of technology. But if you're interested in supporting the work or volunteering, we encourage people to reach out to us through the Facebook and then also participate in programs that are coming up. Like the Keizer Festival is coming up in the 3rd week in May. We'd love you to, if you have time, support us at the Claggett Creek Watershed Council at our booth. And one thing is, if you're a Salem Electric member, either in West Salem or downtown or out in Northgate or southern half of Keizer, Salem Electric's program allows you to contribute to your electric bill any amount of money you would like, tax deductible, that goes to the various Claggett Creek Watershed Council for Marion County members. But if you're in Polk County, it goes to the Gibson-Glen Creek Watershed Council. And it gives the resources where, in our case, we're using that to buy plants, native plants, to replace plants that we are taking out on streams and working with property owners. We have 2 big projects that we're working on north of River Road and Lock Haven on the west side on Claggett, where we're going to eradicate all the invasive species that have taken over the place for probably a football field length of the Claggett this summer. And we're going to put in all native species as one of our projects. So that's a little bit about us. If you're interested, SalemElectric.com provides the Habitat Improvement monthly donation form. We have them in the back. Also, if you're not Salem Electric, you're PGE or somebody else, there's the ability to also send tax-deductible donations that go through our fiscal, and it is a tax-deductible donation. And I would say that's true, I believe, at Gibson as well. So.
And if you're interested in getting your hands dirty, we do have 2
upcoming work parties. One is this Saturday at the Kaiser City Hall or Event Center. We're going to be cleaning up stuff starting at 9 o'clock, going till noon, just picking up stuff that has already been cut and just picking it, recycling it, getting it out of there. And we'll have cookies afterwards.
It's an inducive.
And then the other one is the project he was talking about. We're still working on getting approval from the property owners along the creek, which are basically business owners. If you're familiar with that intersection, it's where Chase Bank is and goes up towards the lake and
It goes on
Salem Health.
urgent health.
Yeah, Salem Clinic Urgent Health is up in there. It's that stretch right there. And we'll have more out on that. You're welcome to come help us on that too.
All right. And last but never least, Ken Beerley, thank you for joining us tonight to represent the Glen Gibson Watershed Council in West Salem. I've got some slides to project for you. And take it away. Thank you, Ken.
Well, since we're over time, I've only got 72 slides, so I'll keep this kind of short. We're a small watershed council, and I'd like to introduce some of the people that are involved with it. Doral Stoltz is here. She keeps us apprised of weeds. She represents the Salem Audubon. E.M. Easterly is here. He keeps us apprised of any land use activity. Stacy and Nelson Klein show up at events and help us do hard work. My wife Linda has been involved since 1995 when they started, and she's 1895. Anyway, she's really been keeping track of the and spearheading the pollinator garden efforts that we've been working on with City of Salem. So I want to talk a little bit about just a few projects that we've done. The Oak Savannah project that we've been working on since 2002, Eola Ridge riparian restoration, and Salem species assessment. You can see that we've done projects throughout West Salem, these little yellow spots. But Orchard Heights is behind the fire station up on Orchard Heights Road. Back in 2002 to 2004, we had it plowed up. It was a bent grass field. It's a reserved reservoir site that is owned and managed by Public Works. We thought that since they'd built a reservoir on a higher site, they weren't going to use this for a while, so we made an arrangement with the City of Salem to plant native plants, both native shrubs, and then we had kids come out and plant acorns, and these are kids planting the acorns, and we have a responsibility to mow it annually. The city mows a fire line around it. We've had training events with Summer Science Camp. We planted milkweed out there. Hasn't been terribly effective, but we did it. And then a couple of years ago, we had a little event. Since mowing it is really a surrogate for fire because these systems were maintained by fire. In 2022, we had a significant fire there. The residents were not particularly crazy about that. We were pleased that that there was very minimal property damage to the adjacent properties. There were some of their foliage damaged, but we also got Willamette University to do a study looking at it. We haven't gotten the results of that, but it was an opportunity to have the university then look at the results, and they've tagged a lot of the trees and they've been tracking survival of the oak trees. and most of the oak trees have survived the fire. It looked pretty bad for a while, but by February the following year, it greened up very nicely, recovered rapidly, as they have historically. Watershed councils, and particularly our watershed council, is really dependent upon partnerships. We have as was mentioned, we have a partnership with Salem Electric, who helps fund projects. We have a partnership with the City of Salem. We have partnerships with Polk Soil and Water Conservation District, who's helped us in many projects. So that's really how we get things done. A good example of that is some of the work that's been done in Eola Ridge Park. For many years, it was simply a blackberry jungle along the Turnage Brook there. And we did, you can see the typical before and after photos. This was an effort that we shared with the City of Salem and the tree, who are they? Friends of Trees, yes, who did the planting, supervised the planting effort. And it's been incredibly successful driving by there. You just don't see blackberries anymore. One of our most recent projects has been a partnership with the city where we developed what's called the Salem Floodplain Species Assessment, which talks about the listed species, a review of all the listed species within the floodplains within the urban growth boundary. We're in the process now of working on a natural floodplain function plan. These kind of efforts give the city credit under the National Flood Insurance Program, which lowers flood insurance costs for residents. The document has been completed, was completed in January of this year. So it's, the City of Salem Floodplain Species Assessment that describes what floodplains are, what floodplain regulations are. It describes and lists the listed species and who lists them and why. Identification of where they might occur, where they have occurred or been identified in Salem, and then what the possibilities of community rating system benefits might be. And there's more to come. We expect to be working with the city as it tries to cooperate with under the lawsuit between the environmental compliance with the Endangered Species Act and the Flood Insurance Program, and developing the Natural Floodplain Functions Plan. And we're continuing the Pollinator Garden Partnership with the city and with funding from Polk Soil and Water Conservation District. So we're trying to keep busy. We might be old and small, but we're mighty. And we really appreciate the time and the effort for everybody. One of the things that I think is really important is, if you listen to talks, be aware that the streams that come through Salem are heavily degraded. They're typically incised. They're very difficult to deal with. The people that live on Goldcrest Brook know that problem because the building conditions that were established back in the 70s didn't give streams the room to function, and there's a lot of history that we have to wrestle with and trying to deal with with current conditions. Anyway, thank you for your opportunity. I've been talking too long. Let you go.
Okay. And so concludes our Urban Streams Symposium. I just want to say a big thanks to all of you for engaging tonight, and all of our presenters and guests. I hope everyone leaves tonight feeling a little more empowered, a little more aware of all the different ways that you can get involved, and all the different partners and resources out there all working together to improve our local wildlife and our streams and our environment. So thank you all.